Alright guys, I know I am a mess right now. I slept in late today. Look at my pants. Been wearing these all day. Joe Boxer. It's a good year. Welsh has always made my favorite non-alcoholic white grape juice cocktail. Welcome to Track by Track Reviews. My name is Rory Sullivan, and today I am, by request, reviewing an album by Unknown Component called The Infinite Definitive. And I was actually contacted by Keith Lynch, Unknown Component, and he wanted me to review his new album. And he's been making music since 2002 under Unknown Component, and he's made 8 albums to date. And he's truly an independent artist. I love how it's sort of become like a genre, independent, indie. Like Fleet Foxes is indie, even though they're on Sub Pop Records. Either way, this is Unknown Component, or Keith Lynch, is truly independent. He plays every instrument on the album, promotes it himself, and mixed everything. He does it all. And his music seems to be influenced by a lot of 90s kind of stuff, like early Radiohead, Nirvana, and also I hear a little bit of R.E.M. in here. And it's really just kind of back to the basics. This isn't rock/pop. This is just like straightforward rock. He's even got that kind of grunge, like throaty vocal style, and kind of like think Eddie Vedder to a lesser extent. And I'm usually actually not crazy about that singing style, but he doesn't overdo it, like what's his face from Nickelback. I'm glad I don't know his name, okay? And when he contacted me, I had never heard of Unknown Component, but I'm glad I know now, so let's go track by track and check this out. The first song on this album, and possibly the best, is Moving Out of Frame. The first thing you really notice about this song is the drums, I think, really stand out because they're electronic. And I don't mean like electronic experimental drum beats. It sounds like he's on a keyboard with the rock kit setting, and just playing on that. Either way, doesn't sound too great with this music, but I have to say the guitar riffs are amazing. There's like 2 or 3 guitar riffs going on at almost all times, just layered on top of each other, and that is the highlight of this song. And he slowly builds into the chorus, and the chorus is catchy as hell, and then you have a guitar break. And this is just a solid song. I'll leave a link to the music video, which is also one thing that he actually did not do. And like I said, everything on this album is done by Keith Lynch. So the electronic drums, those are him. The bass is him. The guitar is him. And I think guitar is what he's most proficient at. I think that's where he probably started. And there's also a little piano. The piano also does not sound too great. I mean, this is not a grand piano. It sounds like the piano sitting on a keyboard. The vocals get really intense. He's not a great singer by any means, but he's got a good voice, and when he puts his emotion into this song, it sounds great. And another thing to note about this song and this album really is it's a pretty serious mood, with the exception of 1 or 2 songs throughout this entire album, and this song is no exception. It's not like emo or anything, but it's also not like fun jumping up and down Strokes kind of guitar rock. The next song, Collections of the State, is the same kind of idea as Moving Out of Frame. Not as catchy. The guitars aren't quite as busy on this song. But it does lighten up the mood a little bit, I will say that. The piano is very loud during the chorus, and that gives it not so heavy and dark of a mood. And once again, much like Moving Out of Frame, in the sense verse, chorus, and then guitar break. It seems to be the same formula. While this song's not as good as Moving Out of Frame probably being my favorite song on this album, this is still a catchy song. The next song, Future Circles, is one of my favorites on the album. I mean, really, the beginning of this album, the first half is definitely stronger than the second half, and this is one of the songs that really stands out. It's the first song where the lyrics really jumped out at me, and that's probably because it's not as loud as Collections of the State or Moving Out of Frame. This is definitely a much softer song, and it's got a lot of heart also. I love the line, "You never listen because reason is the truth of a few." That's just a great line, and while his lyrics don't always grab me, he does have some shining moments. The next song on the album, A Heavy Heart or an Empty Stomach, is one of the more fun songs on the album. The guitar riff with the quick drum beat reminds me a lot of Modest Mouse on the album Good News for People Who Have Bad News. And the mood of the song definitely does get back to that serious mood as we get into the chorus. And Lynch's vocals, his voice does tend to struggle a little bit hitting some of these higher notes. But honestly, that just kind of adds to the indie rock feel of this album. I kind of tend to forget about this song when I think back on the album, but when I'm listening to it, it's very enjoyable. The next song on the album, The Experience of Understanding, is a contender for best song on the album. Maybe, if not, second best for sure. This song's just much slower, and the melody is just so sweet. Lynch's voice is very soft on this track, and he's added some reverb to it. It's easily the prettiest song on the album. The guitar effects sound great, and Lynch's vocals get really intense on this one. I think he just poured his heart into this song above anything else. As they occupy the spaces in my mind. The next song on the album, Every Measure in Space, was a little bit of a change. Most of the songs so far, if not all, I can't really remember, immediately start with the drums. And this song, there's no drums in it at all. It's really just these atmospheric guitars, no bass, no drums. And I think this is probably the moodiest song on the album. The next song on the album, The Illusion Is What It Seems, it's probably my least favorite song on the album. Just the way Keith Lynch is singing on this song seems like he's not really into it. He just seems very detached. The melodies themselves are okay. They're not great. And the guitar actually seems like it's kind of like buried in the mix. I don't know why. It just seems very out of place because the guitar has been prominent throughout this album. Overall, not a horrible song. Just didn't really do it for me. The next song, The Introduction Is Arriving, is interesting because most of these songs, it's either been the vocal melody or the guitar melody that have grabbed me. This song, it's the bass. The bass sounds so good. I actually wish it were a little louder. I will also say that this is actually kind of an upbeat song. This album does get a little samey, and I guess it was probably the last song or this song that marks the point where it starts to kick in. In the next song, Foundation of Rebellion, Lynch sings, "An eye for an eye is a favor I wish not to provide." I love that line, and it seems like Lynch, the way he sings the song, he's back sort of into this. Like, he's really into it like he was with The Experience of Understanding, Moving Out of Frame, and Future Circles. And like I said, the second half of this album is much weaker than the first half. This song stands out. I think it's a great song. The last song on the album, Electric Dissolution, is easily the darkest song on the album. And I guess that's the way that Keith Lynch wanted to end this album. I mean, really, there's not really any drums. It's just guitar and piano that just sort of plays like one note, and it's like a haunting little thing. I'm glad he added it into the song because it adds a lot, even though it's just like bum, bum. I love the melody of this song, and really it's kind of a wake-up call because it's so different from the last 4 or 5 tracks that were more energetic. And near the end, he does a thing that I always love. I've mentioned it before, where he layers 2 vocal tracks on top of each other that are singing different parts. I don't know why. Just always hits me. The conversations fading for a minute. The enemies what you say incomplete. The patience of the majesty of time. And drawing down the passing by. The cold is in the So that's the album. Overall, I'm going to say right off the bat, this album did not blow me away. This is certainly not untreaded ground. He's not experimenting with anything terribly new, which isn't really a bad thing. He's doing the kind of music that he loves to listen to and that he loves to play, and he does it well. Secondly, this album's very easy to get into. It's very catchy. The guitar is great. So, I mean, if this is the kind of music that you're into, you're going to like it right off the bat. It's not going to take a whole lot of warming up to. Thirdly, it's great that Lynch can do all of this by himself. I mean, there's no question that he's a talented guy. It's very impressive. I will say, though, that the electronic drums and the sort of keyboard piano thing, it does take away from this album, and I hate to say that, but I would love to see what Keith Lynch can do in a band setting. If he can get a drummer to play an acoustic drum set and a piano player who's got a real piano, and he even threw some synth strings in Electric Dissolution, which I don't know why. From when you've got the real grunge guitar and bass going, just a fake drum set and all that tends to take away a little bit. And I hate that because all these songs are at their base just sort of regular rock songs and they're very catchy, that something as technical as the sound quality of the instruments would take away from these songs, because at their base they're very good. I mean, he's proven he can do this by himself, there's no question, but it would benefit his songs better with a band, I think, and it would just sound much more professional. So that's really the biggest problem I had with this album. Otherwise, the songs are good. The first half of this album is really great. The second half is okay. I'm going to have to give this album a 6.5 out of 10. I mean, I'd definitely say I can recommend this album. You just have to accept it for what it is, and that's independent music. Once again, he did all of this by himself, so you're not going to expect like grand production or anything. But go out there and support independent music like Unknown Component, because they are putting out some good music. So I'm Rory Sullivan for Track by Track Reviews. See you next week.